Hola, mi gente. Hey, everybody. So, I just wanted to quickly talk about friends and seasons, and they come, they go all over the place. I think a lot of people have heard the phrase that goes something like, some friends come for a season, they come for a reason, and they come for a lifetime, right? And if you're anything like me, you're like a super loyal friend. So you're always trying to maintain your friendships and keep them together and make sure that they don't fall apart. You're okay with letting things go smoothly because you know that you're going to get back together with that person in the future because friendship never ends, right? But then there's some friendships where you value that friendship more than the person did. And that person can easily walk away and never look back, and they don't respond to your emails or your messages or anything, because that's what people do now. Like, I don't understand ghosting. If anybody's watching this, ghosting is the most rude and disrespectful thing ever. It was unheard of in my day, to not reply or respond to someone who is attempting to contact you. Even if you're saying something like, look, we're done. At least there's a closure, there's something there. But when you're trying to contact somebody and they are completely ignoring you, that is one of the most disrespectful acts in the world. You are completely disregarding that human being, that presence, that soul, that body that exists on this plane with you, that you had shared some memories with. It couldn't have been all bad, or else they wouldn't have been in your life at all. So for you, one, karma is going to come back multifold. I'm sorry for you guys. I really feel bad for people who do that. But two, it's just, because we're all electrical beings, we're all energy, right? When you do that to someone, what do you really think is going to happen? Nothing? Like, there is a balance in this universe, so it's just better to say something than say nothing. And the question is, why are you cutting people off? Because I was always brought up to never burn bridges, and I guess maybe that's why my family has really good karma, and we're always blessed and lucky, because we don't hurt people intentionally. Like, we literally try to keep it smooth. Like, okay, well, that's fine. So, we're growing in two different ways. That's cool. I'm not going to fight with you about it. I'm going to be like, all right, well, we'll talk soon. And then, time passes, and later on, if you want to open that door, you can, because you left it nice and quiet. If someone reaches out to you, and let's say you don't want to talk to them because they did something to you, you still are polite and kind, and you're like, hey, I don't really have a lot of time. What's up? Blah, blah, blah. But you always maintain the higher ground, like, you're always polite and cordial. And if you really don't like anybody, you're honest and forthright. Like, for that guy that was hitting on me, I was like, nothing's going to happen between us. And then he's like, I feel that's wrong and you're so rude. And I was like, no, I'm not rude. I'm being honest with you. Being rude is playing games, giving you a fake phone number, or making you feel like you have a chance and then ghosting you. That's rude. I'm being honest and telling you that I'm not interested in you. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I want to be fair and honest, because I think everybody deserves an explanation. And I'm just going to move on from here, And some people might think that's messed up, but I honestly think having that conversation, and at least the guy can walk away and be like, whatever. But at least he got closure, whether he wanted it or not. He got a reason. He's not walking around thinking whatever might pop in their head, So I think it's really important to communicate with every human being that you allow in your life. And when a door is closing, let that person know that the door is closing. And if they reach back to you, don't ignore them. Unless it's a stalker and you have a restraining order on them because they did something physically to you, don't do that. And then there's this generation of people who, like, if someone shows up at your house, you're like, that's some crazy, creepy stalker stuff. No. When I was a kid, you used to just show up at people's houses and knock on the door and be like, hey, you want to play? And they'd be like, sure. Or you'd, like, go to their house and be like, hey, I was in the neighborhood, thought maybe if you were around, you want to hang out. And people would be like, sure. Because I guess back then, you had one phone line. If it was busy, it was busy. You don't even remember your friends' phone numbers. You just know where they live. It wasn't that big of a deal. To this day, if someone came to my house and was like, hey, I'm outside, you want to hang out? I'm going to be like, sure. Or I'm going to say, nah, but I'm not going to be like, what are they doing outside of my house? Isn't that some crazy creeper stuff? Like, oh my God, girl, did you know that he was outside of my house? No, he was outside your house? Why? Because he was in the neighborhood and he wanted to check up on you. He wanted to see how you're doing. He maybe wanted to invite you out to dinner, spend some time together. There's nothing wrong with that. This generation takes little things and turns it into gigantic BS, like, scenarios. Like, it's not a big deal if somebody shows up at your door. Now, if they show up at your door 6 days in a row, that's a problem, But if they're just showing up because they want to hang out, it's not that big of a deal. If someone's calling you and you haven't spoken to them and you told them, I don't want anything to do with you, acknowledge it and say, I appreciate that there's still love in your heart for me, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm moving on with my life, and I don't really see myself communicating with you any longer. Like, we're on two different paths. We learned what we needed to learn from each other, and then we'll move on from there. And I guess maybe the difference between me and a lot of people, because I know a lot of people would be like, oh no, I had that happen on my birthday. We rented a house in the Poconos, and I was with friends, and I was saying, like, it's better to take the communicative route and say, hey, why did you do this to me? I care about you. I want to maintain the friendship. And my other friend was like, nah, you just slowly ignore their text messages until they don't want to talk to you anymore. And I'm like, what? We're like 12 years apart. So it just goes to show how different things are. You could listen to whoever you want to listen to. I feel like the other way is the coward way. It's the running away way. It's the, not facing your problems and not learning how to deal or cope with situations. And when you don't know how to deal or cope with situations, you start to develop a level of anxiety and stress, and you freak out, and you get angry at people, and you disrespect people without even realizing that you're disrespecting them, because you don't care about anybody but yourself. And I was never brought up that way. I'm a very mindful, aware person, and it's really important in my world and the way that I grew up. And this isn't for everybody, but if we want to change things and we want to make it better for the next generations, communication is key. Being able to express yourself verbally, to be vulnerable, to open your heart and your mind to another human being, even if it's at the end of a friendship or relationship, is important, especially if somebody reaches out to you multiple times. To not acknowledge that person, that is disrespectful. Especially if that person was always there for you, they were your friend, they helped you through everything, and then all of a sudden you might have had a falling out for whatever personal reason the other person has. It's just disrespectful to forget everything that a human being has done to you. Now, if you have a friendship where that never happened, person never had your back, never let you crash at their place, never anything. I don't know. If you were just acquaintances and you hung out like 3 or 4 times and they're like really obsessive over it, that's different. Then you just let them know. That's maybe restraining order territory if they show up at your house and blah, blah, blah. But if you have history with somebody, like a few months or a few years, and there's like a history there, I just find it very rude and disrespectful. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've had people talk to me about I just had that conversation in the Poconos, and I had a couple of conversations with my friends and their kids that are like 17 and 20. Like, what do I do? This guy keeps calling me and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, they're like, everybody just says to ignore him. And I'm like, you don't ever ignore a human being. It's rude and disrespectful. And some people are crazy. And you don't know. You don't want to trigger the crazy. So, seriously, you want to make sure that you leave everything as even as possible. Like, it's even Steven, like a lake that's just flowing. You know what I mean? Like little ripples, nothing crazy. You don't want to make somebody crazy. and you don't want to, it's just, I can't explain it. It's just reciprocation of energy. It's karma. It's what you give out is what you give back, what you get back. And if you try to leave everybody at peace, you will always have peace, right? If you leave people angry, confused, upset, if you ghost them, those emotions that you are creating will come back to you, psh, 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 boom, and get you. Like, it's just an understanding. And that goes back to why I think I have good luck and good karma, and I'm blessed, and my family always has more than enough, because we always take everybody in. We always help everybody. I'm not really good at feeding people. It's not my thing, but my mom's really good at that. I'm more of the emotional healer, the mind, the body, the soul. That's my gift. So that's who I am for my friends. But I would never let anybody live on the street. I would never put anybody out, except for that one guy who cheated on me. No, I'm just, that was just like anyway, like it was a joke. It was a joke. And then, so funny. And then, so it's an inside joke between my friends and I, but I'm sorry, because I shouldn't have done that in the video, but I'm not going to go back and edit it, so you guys all heard it. But yeah, just try to keep your energy and the energy that is around you peaceful. Like, I have a course that I'm putting together on how to increase your vibrational level, because what happens is, when you vibrate at a certain level, you attract people at that level, whether you like it or not. So if you can increase your vibrational level, and I've had this discussion with a friend of mine who is a scientist and a biogenetic engineer. So in the holistic world, you say you want to increase your vibrational level so you can attract the same thing, and then you want to vibrate on a high level, because if you vibrate on a low level, you have chaos and disorder and poverty, and if you vibrate on a high level, you have joy and money and wealth. And of course, my friends, because they're like me, she was like, well, actually, when neutrons and cells are vibrating at a low level, they're not hitting each other. They're just kind of chilling. So there's no chaos. It's when they're vibrating at a high level that they're smacking into each other, and then you have, and I totally get it, because I thought the same thing, but that's not how it's portrayed verbally in the holistic world. In the holistic world, you want to vibrate on a high level and stay away from low level, low energy beings, right? Like, unless that's your duty to help them, and we all have a purpose, and people come into your life from different vibrations, and your goal is to either help them elevate, or sometimes they bring you down to their level, which then causes depression, anxiety, and a bunch of other things. So I tend to vibrate on a very high level. I was lucky in the way that I was brought up with very, well, my friend's parents were very calm, educated, well-off individuals who were great communicators. Along with my education, it helped me a lot. I am Spanish. I'm of Latin descent. I'm Dominican. My family's loud. They're very strong personalities. And me, who was the youngest of my generation, I witnessed a lot of things. And I saw the dynamics of how people argue, how they lie, how they manipulate, how they deceive, how they laugh, how they have fun, how that fun can turn into a fight, and that fight can turn into a laugh. Like, it's Italians, they get this. I think Russians might get this too, because they have a lot of, like, boisterous families. Latin people always get it. But I learned a lot. And I'm generally an observer more than a speaker. Like, to speak on this channel, that's a lot of talking for me. I don't really talk that much unless I'm teaching, giving a seminar or something like that. Usually I kind of keep to myself, watch a lot of movies, read a lot. I'm not, I I'm very social. I do go out and dance and have a good time. Well, not recently since the car accident, but like before I was, into networking and stuff like that. But I'm generally not a speaker. I'm more of a listener. And then I only speak when I feel like I have something to share, right? So in all of my observations, I saw a lot of encounters, and I didn't see energy, but I understood how it's like a tennis ball, how this person says this, and it causes this emotion, and then they say this, and it causes this emotion, and then they say this, and it causes this emotion, and then this one misinterpreted that, and then it caused, and I was just like, majority of my childhood, this was me, you know? So I carry that into my adult life. And it's the same, it's a different time in history, but it's the same reactions, the same manipulation, the same deception, the same fear, the same avoidance, the same, all of those things are the same, regardless of what period of time you're talking about. And I just think that I don't think I've acknowledged, I've seen, I've witnessed how ignoring another human being creates trauma in that person and causes a lot of negative energy. And some people might say, well, that's not my problem, that's their problem. That's a very Sagittarius thing to do, FYI. That's not my problem, that's their problem, because that's how they feel. I am not responsible for that. That's usually what the selfish person who only cares about themselves says. And in some instances, it's like that. When people always play the victim card, because there are some victims out there, then after a while you're like, you know what, that's really not my problem, because that's their MO, that's their motive. They're the victim. They're always going to turn everything around. At that point, you got to walk away and be like, I don't have time for this, But sometimes there are some narcissistic people who, it's like they don't care about how anybody feels because they only care about themselves. Like me, I don't really care what other people think, not because I'm a narcissist, but because I've learned that I'm an empath. I care so deeply, and I made the worst decisions I've ever made in my life. I've made because I tried to make other people happy. I made because I tried to keep the peace, and it was against my personal truth. So as an adult, I've chosen not to care about what everybody thinks. I'm going to follow my truth. I'm going to do what I think is right, regardless of what other people may or may not tell me. So when I make these videos, I say the same thing to you. Don't listen to me. Do your research, find what resonates with you, and then do that. But understand, the whole point is to teach you understanding. If you get into an altercation with someone and they react in a way you don't understand, you're like, why are they acting like that? I'm here to share with you why they may be acting like that, why they may feel abandoned, or they may feel like you don't want, like you ignore them, and then all of a sudden you pop up and you're like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long, and they're like mad at you for not talking to them for years, and you're wondering why. Well, it's because you abandoned them, and they don't understand what happened, and you ignored them, and now you're acting like nothing happened. You can do whatever you want, but you have to understand why certain people might react a certain way. And like all my videos, that's all it is. I have my own truths. I barely share my personal truths with you guys. What I'm doing is that I'm sharing what the generic majority believes, what I've witnessed the generic majority to believe, to behave, to think. So I'm sharing with you, if you want to fit in, which I don't necessarily think everybody should fit in, and you want to make peace, you have to understand how the general majority thinks. And in doing that, you can then decipher different ways of behavior, how to get the results that you want, and so on and so. My personal truths are very different from the way this whole world works. My personal truths are very different from the way life in society is in New York. I was placed here so that I can understand this world quicker, because you have all these ethnicities, all these different things. So you're getting a snapshot so that I can do whatever healing work I was meant to do, you know, and I could speak, you know, and communicate with people the way that I was meant to speak and communicate with people and reach a larger number of people. That's why I was placed in New York. That's why I have my mom, who was a socialite, and my dad, who was on the radio. Both very social people, very easy to look at. Oh, thank God. Very, like, awesome. You know, like, I'm really, really lucky, like, unbelievably lucky. And then I had the amazing family around me. So they say that you choose your family, you choose your parents, you choose the life that you want before you come here so that you can better fulfill your mission. And I think that people who are depressed, angry, frustrated, they're not even on path to mission, which is why they're feeling that way. And when you hurt another human being, they cannot stay on path unless it was part of the path, which sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. You're literally messing up their purpose. Like, we should all be resonating on a high level. We should all be laughing and enjoying life and living in the present moment without hurting another human being. You know, without imposing too much of your power and your will and your want on another human being. You know, it's like a fine tango dance. There's a balance that you do throughout the entire, you know, choreography. You just go back and forth, you know? And that's what friendship is. So when you cut somebody off, it's hard, especially in relationships, especially unrequited love. You know, there's some people that they call them users or energy vampires, and they just jump around from person to person. Whoever gives them the next high is the person they're hanging out with. And then if you're no longer fun or entertaining, they like leave you and move on with their life. And, you know, just be aware of all these personalities. Be aware of everything that I'm saying. Like, the video's kind of like gone all over the place, which is typical me. But I just want to share with you how your behavior can affect another human being, how it could create trauma, how it could create negative energy that will come back to you, because that balance, how, you know, sometimes it isn't your fault. They are just being a victim, or they're a narcissist, or, you know, there's so many different dynamics. You need a lot more backstory to actually break it down and be like, oh, well, this is why it's happening. And, oh, and this is why I made the video. So don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to your friends. Okay, first of all, if you look at your friends, look at what they have, and if you want what they have, then you listen to them. But if you don't want what they have, if you don't like the life that they have, and you don't like the, you know, the way that they are in a relationship, don't listen to them. You know, I'm speaking from an educated perspective where I'm always the unbiased person on the outside saying, oh, well, this is how they're feeling and this is how you're feeling. And are you aware? Are you acknowledging this other person's feelings? Are you aware and are you acknowledging this other person's feelings? Do you understand now why there is a miscommunication? That's who I am always in every scenario when I talk about my friends and this and that and blah, blah, blah. When I speak to you guys, I'm giving you examples of what's been going on in my interactions on a day-to-day basis, and then I'm sharing them with you. And I guess sometimes I do say stuff like, well, I think, and I think, and I think. And I guess it does sound like I do think that, but I don't. I'm literally just saying, if you were to take the general majority, this is, you know, and then I say, I think, you know, if you want to have this result to fit in this world of the general majority, then this is what you need to do. If you don't give a blank and you don't care about the general majority and you just want to do you, then you do you, boo-boo. You do you, you know? But just understand that if you're going through life and you don't have a tribe, or you don't have a consistent tribe, or you don't have people that are always on your side and you're constantly switching friends, and there is a reason for that. And it might be something that I mentioned in this video. That's what I should have started with, but I'm not going to go back. So, because I still don't even know how to edit. Like, why watch these YouTube videos? I'm like, how did they get the words up there? How did they split the screen? How did they... I could learn how to mount TVs, put up shelves, assemble furniture. I can build WordPress websites, but I am not taking the time to do that. I can create all of your graphic art stuff for anything. Like, I'm not doing that. So if any of y'all know how to edit and you're in New York and you want to be my assistant or you want to work with me, like holla, because I'm not trying to. I don't even want to manage my Instagram. It's too much. In order for you to be relevant in anything, it's too much. Nah, boo, I ain't doing that. It's not my destiny. That's someone else's favorite thing to do. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. Love you. Bye.